Hi, folks. Welcome to Talkin Baseball. This is Season 6, Episode 5, and we're calling this episode The Strange Season. It's my son, Jason
Hello.
Smith. I'm Pete Lincoln.
And it was a strange season for sure this year. And it's still going in the playoffs, but the regular season was something that we've never seen and hopefully we'll never see again.
But before this, we have a phenomenal news flash.
We're part of history here on Talkin Baseball, everyone.
If you all watched the last show, we did a show about Mudville. And Mudville is in the town of Holliston. And the town of Holliston is known for 7 curious facts, the 7 wonders of Holliston. Well, one of the 7 wonders is a balancing rock, a rock that nature left there about 15,000 years ago, one big rock sitting on top of another. And the legend has it that George Washington and his crew tried to push it over and couldn't do it. So a month ago, when we were visiting the town of Holliston, we decided to give it a little shove ourselves.
I think we were successful.
The balancing rock is no longer balanced.
It is no longer there. We may have the last video footage of the rock as it was balanced so precariously.
Here's the picture of the way
years.
that it looked. It has been looking for about 15,000 years, I guess. Rocks sitting on top of each other. Then here's the picture of when we were down there trying to push it over ourselves.
Maybe it worked. I don't know. Maybe we did something.
There we are there beside it. And this is what it looks like now. It's fallen off.
It is gone.
We have outlived a geological feature.
We did. For those of you who feel old out there.
That's not an original line. Tom Rush said that when the old man of the mountain crashed.
Yes.
But now we have outlived two geological
features.
And I had this little fantasy last night. Things always happen in threes.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely happen in threes. I had this fantasy that Arizona would suffer through an enormous dry spell and then be hit with a phenomenal windstorm. And the Grand Canyon would become the Grand Sandbox. Would fill up the Grand Canyon. And if that happens, we have definitely lived too long.
Well, keeping it local, what if I'm predicting half of Mount Wachusett to fall down at this point after the 2 rocks have collapsed in our lifetimes. We were part of history here on Talkin Baseball. I mean, of all the shows we decided to do, that was the one in Holliston.
That's right.
It's 2 weeks later.
It's very possible. That's the last video
of
a rock that's been sitting up there since the glaciers.
So preserve this. Keep this on your DVR, folks. You saw history last month.
A first on Talkin Baseball.
See, we're multitasking. We can do sports and geographical features.
So to start off today, we thought we'd do a quick review. Last year, they innovated a few new rules, new procedures, with the intention of speeding up the game.
Right. And we got on pretty much at quite a good length about these on one of our shows, and we ran through them piece by piece, and we thought we'd sort of take a look back and see how successful some of these were.
And how important they seem to have been in this strange season.
Yes.
Strange season.
Where did they fit
in? They limited mound visits. That means you could only visit the mound 6 times during a game.
And it's actually on the scoreboard, too.
That's right.
Runs, hits, errors,
how many
mound visits
left. The tension gets down when it's down to 2.
When it's down to 2,
it's like having 5 fouls in professional baseball.
Yeah.
And basketball.
Yes, yeah.
You have 5 fouls.
I mean, everyone leans a little more forward, say, they're going to use them up.
And I never did find out what happens if they go over the limit.
I don't think it ever happened.
I don't
know.
Just
tell you to go back in the dugout?
They remove the mound, I think. I don't know what they do. But that seemed to have very minimal impact on this
minimal
season.
impact whatsoever. Kyle Snyder from the Rays used all 6 every game. And other than that, I don't think it really affected anybody.
And this year, where they're changing pitches all the time, they just don't, bother to go to the mound.
Oh, good Lord. We were talking, another rule was the 3-batter minimum. It looks like there was a 3-batter maximum, this rule, too, because nobody faced more than 3 batters in any game, it seems like.
Another one was the holding up 4 fingers for the intentional walk.
Oh, gee.
I tried it out in the backyard. It saves 26 seconds.
Yeah.
Not throwing those 4 pitches and just holding up the 4 fingers give him 4 and let him walk down. The thing is, sometimes it catches the announcers by surprise.
Oh, yeah, because they don't know.
How do you get on first?
Yeah, Remy and Ecker are shooting the breeze, and how do you end up on first? Oh, I guess they walked him. Because those 26 seconds, when you got to get home on Starwood Drive, that makes all the difference. Right. I mean, the 26 seconds.
And the other one was only the 2 minutes between innings. And all that meant was you missed the first couple of pitches because the ads
were still going.
It didn't speed up the game any.
No. The Humira ad with the guy who visits the house and was still going.
And in case I forget, I got to make mention of this. The Yankees and the Indians last week played a game that lasted 4 hours and 50 minutes and only took 9 innings.
9-inning game.
It broke the longest game record by 17 minutes.
It was ridiculous. It really was.
And this in the time when they tried to speed up
the game. It's going slower than ever.
It went through 2 time zones.
Yes. It really did. And especially like right now we're in the playoffs, so they have 4 games stacked. Yeah. You can sit and watch baseball for 12 hours if you really want to. And me too. If I could, me too. And one is never over before the next one starts. There's no gap in between whatsoever.
It says, this game is now showing on channel 621.
Right, yes. Tune into this channel right now.
If you get 2 TVs, you can watch them
both.
So,
with these new rules, it really didn't work. There was no discernible difference.
This season, the length of games, it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
They're trying to cram in so many games in such a short period of time.
Oh, yeah.
That there's always baseball.
Well, there's always baseball. There were so many double headers this year, and with the 7 innings of the double header.
Last year's whole thing was to make sure the games were over quickly. Now they just turn on TV and they go like these playoffs that are going on now. It was
completely irrelevant. We said it's a strange season. You really can't get too much information out of the way this season went. You can't draw any conclusions or anything like that. So I think they just kind of needed to reboot, and we'll see in 2021 what happens with some of these. But there was really no discernible difference. The games, if anything, took longer, and I think it's because of. I think we might touch on this a little later on that. They're all big on the 3 true outcomes right now. The walk, the strikeout, or a home run. Nobody goes up and swings at the first pitch anymore.
And it's almost you have to have a no-hitter to be taken out before stay in after the 5th inning.
Oh, absolutely. It's all bullpen games.
Well,
there are teams in the playoffs right now that are doing bullpen games. Yeah. I mean, you're in the second round of the playoffs and you don't have a starting pitcher.
And they're using openers, too.
Yeah, openers. Yeah, the 1 and the 3rd inning guys at the beginning.
So. Well, I think it's time for trivia.
Oh, already? Okay.
All right, we'll do an early trivia just because it's come up early. And, let's explain one more time in case you haven't been watching.
It turns into Stump Jason every episode.
For the first few seasons, we just had a general trivia question. But since we're dealing with the Ken Jennings of baseball trivia, I tried to dream up a question, try to stump him, and I stumped him 1/3 of one question so far. That's the best I was able
And that was an impossible one. That was the final Jeopardy that everyone missed at the end of the show.
So the question, since we're in playoff baseball, is who holds the all-time record for most postseason home runs?
In baseball history? Not just Red Sox.
Baseball.
All of baseball history.
Who has the most postseason?
That is a great question.
And I'll give you a hint. It has to be fairly recently because there hasn't been
extra rounds and all that stuff.
Okay.
I have a couple people in mind.
You can ponder that one.
Yes, I have a couple people in mind.
And I'll give you one other hint. He leads by 7 over the
so he's way ahead. Way ahead. Okay. I will think about that.
All right. So what we've been doing here is setting up 2 teams.
Oh, yes.
One team of the all-time Red Sox from 1901 to 1960. And another one from 1961 to the present.
Dividing team history right in half, splitting it down the middle.
What's the best squad you can get from those 2 halves of the 120 years the Red Sox have played? Because you really can't match those eras very well.
You can't compare today's game to the game of 120 years ago. There's really no point to it.
So we're up to right fielders now.
Right fielders.
So who is your pick for the...
My pick for the right fielder from 1961 to present, and I think it's probably everybody's pick for the right fielder. One of my all-time favorite players, Dewey Evans.
Oh, right.
Now, you can make an argument, and I agree with this. I think Dewey Evans is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely.
He has a lot of support. He's sort of one of these fringe guys who's always just on the verge of making it, but never quite got in. Now, just to run down a little bit, Dewey played 19 years with the Red Sox. He won 8 Gold Gloves, and I think he stopped winning them because people just stopped running on him. He had maybe the best right field arm I've ever seen on any defender ever. He had 5 years of MVP votes. He had 3 All-Star games. He hit, it was a little trivia question for you. He hit the most home runs of anyone in the 80s. So from 1980 to 1989, he hit the most home runs of anyone in the major leagues. He had 385 in his career, and he was sort of underappreciated then because in the 80s it was all about speed and stolen bases. He was a guy who walked a ton. He led the league in walks 3 different years, and several times past that he was in the top 5. He would be a little more appreciated in today's game, I think, than he was in the 80s. It was sort of an anomaly. And he also was an anomaly that he played better in his 30s than his 20s.
I was just going to say that.
He was, even in his mid-30s, he was still trucking right along, and he was as productive as ever.
So many players start out with a bang. Think people like Pedroia, say. And then, or Nomar.
No, yeah.
And then after a first 2 or 3 great years go downhill. He was very underappreciated when he started out.
Sure.
I think he batted him 9th for a while.
He did.
8th or 9th
Absolutely,
bottom
he was
of the
9th.
order.
Yes.
And the longer he played, the better he got, the more power he had. He moved up in the lineup. He had leadoff for a while.
He did, because he had the walks.
In the period, the last few years he played, he was the most clutch hitter on the team.
I was just going to say that. Until
ever
David
needed a hit.
Until David Ortiz, he was the best clutch hitter I ever saw. Every single time they needed a big hit, he came through. He has a 127 career OPS plus. That's better than most Hall of Famers.
Right.
So I think when you throw in the offense and the defense and the on-base percentage, I think he's a Hall of Famer, honestly. And he had one, we always talk about big moments. He did have one big moment in the classic Game 6 of 75.
Right.
He made a fantastic catch. It was the 8th inning, I think it was. And he made one of the best catches you've ever seen. We went over his head and caught a line drive into right field and saved the game at that point.
That's right.
So
and off our favorite non-hero Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan.
And turned it into a double play.
Yes, yeah, right. So,
so he had that was his iconic moment.
That was his iconic moment
Right.
on the team. So to me, he checks every box for a Hall of Famer. I think he should be in, and I wouldn't even question him as the first right fielder of the last 60 years. I don't think anyone else is even close.
On my 46th birthday, in the 8th inning, he hit a home run to tie the game. And in the 10th inning, another one to win it.
Yeah,
I took that as a personal favor.
Yeah, right. Yes. But that's what he did. He was just an incredible clutch hitter. Every single time they needed a hit,
And a
he came up big.
Phenomenal fielder.
It's
almost sad, though, that he decided to play one more season with Baltimore.
Yeah, he was a free agent. He decided to hang
Hung
on for
one more year.
One more year for the Orioles.
That didn't do much there, and it's just, to be a lifer with a team is really remarkable.
It's very rare. Yes, that's the only downside. But he's number 24. They should retire it. They should put him in the HOF.
Well, I'm afraid I'm going to nominate someone for the first 60 years that you have to be a real baseball fan to have even heard of. Harry Hooper.
Oh, great pick.
Harry
Great
Hooper.
pick.
He was with the Red Sox from 1909 to 1920. And he's the only Red Sox ever to be part of 4 World Series champions.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
He was part of what they called the Golden Outfield with Duffy Lewis, Tris Speaker, and Harry Hooper.
That's quite an outfield.
It was phenomenal. He was not a great hitter. He hit .272, but his fielding was phenomenal. He had the most putouts of a right fielder for 10 years, most assists for 7, most double plays for 7, and his fielding position was the highest in the entire outfield, any outfield position, for 7 years. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is. Yep.
All of my players have made the Hall of Fame.
Right. And I think, and keep in mind, the defense back then was even more important than it is now, because we think of these wonderfully groomed fields with perfectly trimmed grass. Back then, the fields were all beat to hell, and there were holes all over the place, and you were judged on triples more than homers for your power. So a guy who could cut off the gaps and throw runners out was super important on those teams.
And even the equipment.
Yeah,
I was just watching
Right.
one of the playoff games where right fielder for the Houston, made a phenomenal catch, snow coning it.
Right.
That would have been a home run in the old days.
Absolutely.
The gloves they used to wear didn't have webbed hands.
No, they were just...
There were 5 separate fingers.
Yeah, they were like winter gloves almost.
And they had no way, if you had to catch the ball and close your hand on it, so the number of errors they used to make was enormously more than now.
I can't imagine being a first baseman back then. Your arm must have just been numb after a couple innings.
Well, and the size of the gloves they have now are so much different. Yeah. It's just so that to leagues in any sort of fielding stat in those days was almost more important than batting.
Sure it was. And that was the dead ball era, too, when every game was 2-1 and cutting off every run was super important. So, great pick, Harry Hooper. I 100% agree with that. 100% agree.
So we're going to switch over to the catchers, and then we'll have certificates come up after that for our outfields. So we're going to go to catchers next, and Jason will he'll give us the best catcher from the last 60 years.
The best one to wear the tools of ignorance, as they call them. So this may be a surprise to some people, and this one was probably the closest call I had to make on any of my positions. I went with Jason Varitek for my catcher. And I know that some people will argue Fisk, and I'll get into that. I picked Varitek for a few reasons. What we just talked about, he was a lifer, 15 years with the Red Sox, and 10 of them were full seasons. He didn't really, a lot of catchers kind of fade in and out and become part-timers. That didn't happen until the very, very end of his career. I think it was 34 he was still catching full-time. He had 8 years of 130-plus games at catcher. Talk about durable. Unless Wakefield was pitching, he was catching. I mean, that's really what it was.
Right.
So he had a 99 OPS plus. He was a completely league average hitter. But he was the captain. I mean, and he was the one who led the team. He won a Gold Glove. He had a Silver Slugger. He made 3 All-Star teams. He got MVP votes in 3 different years, which I didn't realize until I looked it up. And this is something that is sort of an intangible, but you have to factor in. He was the starting catcher on 2 World Series teams, and he's the only catcher ever to catch 4 no-hitters. And there were 4 different guys. It wasn't like he caught Nolan Ryan 4 times.
That's right, 4 different ones.
And to me, that gives him the edge over Fisk. Fisk actually really only had 5 full-time seasons with the Red Sox. He had 2 other shortened seasons, and 2 when he came up when he was a rookie that he hardly played. And Fisk was a better hitter, but to me, I think Varitek is much more of an iconic Red Sox than Fisk, even though Fisk had the iconic, quote, moment that we all talk about. When you think Red Sox catcher, you think Varitek, at least for me.
You know what I think the reason Fisk is so well known? Because he played at the height of the rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Absolutely.
And was in the midst of all the
fights.
all the fights, and he and Thurman Munson would be going at it all the time.
Canelo would go at it.
And he also has, to me, his iconic moment is pushing A-Rod in the face with his glove.
Oh, yeah, the Varitek A-Rod fight.
July 24th.
Yes.
He pushed A-Rod in the face when A-Rod was saying nasty things.
Turned the season around.
And the place went absolutely berserk.
Bronson Arroyo hit A-Rod with a pitch, and A-Rod stared and started jawing at him, and Varitek said, "Take your base," although he didn't say it that politely. He threw a few extra words in there. And A-Rod said, "Come on," and Varitek said, "Fine," and just shoved his glove right in the face.
I hope Varitek got royalties for all the photographs of that. I've seen that in so many people's homes.
Right. And actually, I've read that he doesn't like to sign that picture. No. He's very uncomfortable with it.
He wasn't that kind of a guy.
No, not at all. But A-Rod is being a jerk.
It's hard not to get caught up in the emotion of any sport. Yeah. And there's no, at the time at least, I've come to kind of admire A-Rod right now.
Oh, I think he's a phenomenal announcer, yes.
The way he was, knocking balls out of people's gloves.
He was the big free agent who signed for $250 million. And he was sort of everything that was wrong with the Yankees at that point in time.
People out there remember, he wanted to sign with the Red Sox.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And they refused to let him do it because he was going to do it and take a cut in salary, and the players' union said, "You can't do that." He wanted to play with Boston, and he ends up being our arch rival.
Imagine if he played in Boston, how history would change. And Varitek, actually, people may not realize this, he has 11 postseason homers. I think that might be tops for catcher. I'd have to check that. I know he and Posada are tied. I don't know if they have the most. But he's my pick from 1960 to present, and I don't know that some people are saying that he should be the next manager. I'm not on board with that. That's just me. You know,
we'll get to
later.
the managers later on.
but,
Okay.
but my pick is Tech.
Now, to pick the best catcher from 1901 to 1960 is extraordinarily difficult.
Yes, it is.
There were very few catchers that even played 5 years.
Right. Yep.
And I remember seeing when I was a kid, all-time Red Sox team, and they had Bertie Tebbetts as the catcher, who played not even 3 seasons with them. And if you look up his stats, then they weren't much at all.
Mediocre.
And then another one was Ruff Carrigan, who was their manager back when they won the pennant back in the early. He was from Maine.
Yeah.
But he only played about 3 years, and his stats were nothing.
Right.
So I'm going to go with a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Because I've got Hall of Famers
Oh,
for all the
I know who
positions.
you picked.
Rick Ferrell.
Rick Ferrell, yes.
Rick Ferrell,
Great pick.
who probably no one heard of because he played during the 4 worst years in Red Sox history,
Yes, he did.
from 1933 to 1937. But he had a 300 average for those years that he played here. Name any another catcher with a lifetime 300 average. Didn't happen.
Not
and he also played with the Browns and the Senators, but he's in the Hall of Fame as of 1984. He was in 8 All-Star games, and first in assists twice, first in putouts twice, first in double plays 3 times, and he teamed with his brother, Wes Ferrell.
His brother Wes.
How often do you have a brother and 2 brothers?
That pitcher and
catcher as a teammate? Must have happened some other time.
I don't know about
I
many,
can't think
though.
of one
I
offhand.
can't think of one off the top of my head.
I know brothers that have played brothers
in the outfield.
In
like
the outfield.
Luz and
or even maybe a pitcher and a catcher, but not on the same team.
Right.
Not together.
Right.
The DiMaggios never played together or anything like that.
And supposedly his brother Rick, or his brother was kind of a head case, actually.
Yeah,
he was known for being an absolute crazy person.
He sort of calmed him down.
Yeah.
And he was also in the first All-Star game in 1933.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. So Wes and Rick are both in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, both.
So
both
Rick Ferrell, probably another name that probably a lot of folks out there, unless they are as fanatic as we apparently are, would know his name. So what we'd like to bring up now is the certificates for our outfields. So this would be, which one are we going to do? Jason first?
There we go. We're going to do the old timers first.
The old timers. Outfield for the Red Sox from 1900 to 1960. Left field, Ted Williams. He would be in anybody's left field.
Anybody's list.
Center, Tris Speaker. And right, Harry Hooper. And those are a couple of old timers that
and played together. Speaker and Hooper were together.
And once again, all Hall of Fame players.
Yes, they are.
They are. And now the other certificate will show you the recent people.
And then these are my picks here for outfield. Let's see if they. Here they are. So left fielder, Carl Yastrzemski. Center fielder, Fredlin. Right fielder, Dwight Evans. Yaz is the only Hall of Famer. As we said, I think Dewey's a Hall of Famer. And I think if Fredlin had stayed in Boston, he may well have been one too.
And I'll tell you right now, both Ferrell and Ferrell at least was picked by the Old Timers Committee.
Yes, he was.
And it's very likely that especially Evans will be picked by the Old Timers Committee down the road somewhere.
I think he absolutely will.
And they revisit his career and what he'd done.
Hey, Harold Baines got in. Dwight Evans should be in.
That's right.
So those are our picks, and we'll... So for our next show, I think we're going to have the pitchers, and then we're going to pit our teams against each other.
Right.
So that will
we'll have our best lefty and the best righty.
Best lefty and best righty for next show.
I was going to say we get the best reliever, but they didn't have relievers.
No, they didn't have relievers in your half. I think I'd win that battle right there. So.
Well, before we get into our next section, which I think you're going to enjoy, we're going to play Siskel and Ebert with a lot of things going on. Here was the trivia question. Who has the most postseason home runs of all time?
I'm pondering this because I know a couple people who have a lot. I know Manny Ramirez has a ton. Is it Manny? It is Manny.
I can't stop this
Manny.
guy.
Yes. It is Manny.
Manny.
Oh, God. I love Manny. I'm sorry. I love Manny. To me, the game is entertainment. And if you're going to pick someone who's entertaining, Manny was the ultimate showman. He really was. He was so much fun to watch. I think he's probably the best right-handed hitter I've ever seen on the Sox, at least in my lifetime.
He had 29 postseason home runs.
Well, because he went from the Indians.
29.
The Indians were in it every year. Then the Red Sox were in it every year. Then he went to the Dodgers, and they were in it every year.
He had 14 with Cleveland, 11 with the Red Sox, and 4 with the Dodgers.
4 with the Dodgers. Yeah.
And it just seemed... we were at the game where he hit the home run that eliminated the Angels, and he stood there with his arms up there.
Yes.
Another talk about iconic moment.
Right, yes. He just stood and watched it go and pumped his arms up.
He was the ultimate in baseball entertainment.
Yep, he really
even
was.
when he was playing with another team.
He was.
Because he did the goofiest
He
stuff.
did. There's the footage of him who was a Damon made a throw to the cutoff man, and he cut off the throw to the cutoff man. He dove for it. Said, and it was, but Pedro was on the mound, and the guy hit inside the park over because Manny cut the ball off.
It's Jerry Remy's his favorite moment, other than throwing the pizza.
Yes,
favorite moment he ever saw in baseball. He dove to catch a ball thrown about 30 feet away to cut off his coming
And of course, the moment where he went and relieved himself behind the scoreboard in left field.
Where's Manny?
Where's Manny? He's out in the outfield.
He's
relieving
behind the Green
himself.
Monster.
And he was so much fun to watch. I know that there was a little controversy here and there, but and he was number 24 along with Evans too. The two number 24s.
Right.
And actually, here's a cool trivia, and I know this because I looked it up. Do you know what the last team he played for was?
Japan.
No, in Major League Baseball, in the American.
No.
Tampa Bay.
That's right. You're right.
He went with Tampa Bay.
For just a short time.
Yes,
right,
for like 2 weeks he played
then he
with
went
Tampa
to Japan.
Bay.
I heard recently that he's trying to come back somewhere.
I did hear that. He's what, 46 or 47?
Guatemala or some
right.
odd place.
He could probably still hit.
He was an unbelievable natural pure hitter. He had 555 homers in the time he played, and just toward the end when he got involved with his drug addictions and all whatever. But it's too bad.
It really is. It really is.
He needed a personal manager.
Yes, he did. Well, and I'm forever in his debt because Manny actually won us a trivia question one night at trivia night. I was there with my now wife and a couple of friends, and we were tied at the end of the trivia game. So there was a tiebreaker question. And the tiebreaker question was, it had just happened, Manny Ramirez just hit his 500th homer. How many did he hit for Cleveland? And we knew it was pretty close.
Yeah.
So we said 250. We just split it right down the middle. I think it was like 246.
Yeah.
It was really close at that time. And we won. We were closer than the other team that was tied with us. So Manny won us a trivia night, too, on top of everything else.
You can't dislike him. The way he wore his hair and the way he ran around.
Right.
And the night he was rubbing, what's his name's head?
Oh, Julio Tavares' head when he's rubbing.
Julio Tavares had a short crew cut, and the camera zoomed in, and Tavares' head was in Manny's lap, and he was patting him, and Remy finally said, "Make him stop." Make him stop.
And I think he was important too because at that time, when he and Pedro and Papi, they had a huge Latin fan base with those guys,
unbelievable.
And that's carried over even to now.
That's
and that was and for a team that had a sort of a history, whether it was true or not, of racial issues or whatever, that was a huge deal to have that influx of Latin players led by, and they were the best guys on the team too. It wasn't like they were guys on the bench.
Especially Pedro.
Right. Yeah.
When he came on the team, the Dominicans just
Saw
poured out
the flags waving
in the stands. But they really did turn racism on the ball field.
Absolutely,
well.
absolutely. Yeah.
And,
so we love you, Manny. We hope you get in the Hall of Fame someday too.
And Jake, congratulations once again. Damn it, next week I gotta stop you. This streak is going on too long.
So
we're gonna have fun with this next section.
So we're gonna turn into critics here for a second.
You've all seen Siskel and Ebert, thumbs up and thumbs down on movies. We're going to do the thumbs up and thumbs down on things that are going on in this strange season.
The strange season had a bunch of new things that happened, and we're going to let you know our opinion on exactly what happened with these
Okay.
new rules, whatever.
Maybe not everyone's familiar with all the different things. Unless you're a baseball fan, you might not realize all these different things are taking place now.
But they are.
Some have been changed especially for this year.
Right.
Some were in the planning to happen down the line.
Right.
But because of this strange season, a lot of these things were implemented more quickly than they thought they would be.
And some of them are experimental. Some
Yes.
may hang on, some
That's
may
right.
not. We'll
they've
find out.
already said they're probably going to drop a couple.
Right.
And we're going to urge them to.
Yes, a couple of them we were very strongly. If anyone is watching who's in charge of this, please take our opinions.
Okay, here's the first one. Since 1973, there's been a different rule for each league. That is, the pitcher bats in one league, and the pitcher doesn't bat in the other league. And there's a designated hitter in the American League, and there's not in the National League. And when they play in the All-Star game, they sort of eliminate that.
Yes.
But in the World Series, depends on which park you're in. So a poor pitcher, or with interleague play,
Yes,
they don't do that.
Yeah.
They've had the universal DH this year. To me, that couldn't be more of a bigger thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Thumbs
If
up.
you're going to take one rule out of this season, take the universal DH. Absolutely. It should have happened a long time ago. It's stupid to watch a pitcher with an .070 batting average go up there and just flail away at 3 pitches. And I think the players are on board with it, too. I think some of the National Leaguers were sort of stubborn about that, I think, but now that it's happened, I really think they're on board with it. And it's more jobs. I mean, think about
That's
it.
right, it's more jobs.
It's more jobs at a business level.
The thing to me about the DH always is it allows star players to hang on.
Absolutely.
Imagine if Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio could have played 4 or 5 more years.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
People could have got a chance to see them.
Right.
I remember sitting in Houston once, and the fellow in front of me was arguing with me about it's pure baseball. It's pure baseball. It shouldn't be changed. Well, they changed the sacrifice fly rule.
Yeah,
There's been
yeah.
changes.
There's been all
It's
kinds
just
of changes.
it's not fun to watch, and it's dangerous for the $1 million pitchers to go out there and risk their situations by trying to steal or slide or something.
And from a fan's perspective, who are you going to pay $50 to watch? David Ortiz or a double switch in the 6th inning? Oh, that's pulse pounding. Let me tell you right there. That's what I paid my money for right there.
And especially now that they've increased the number of players on the team, you don't need to make that great strategy. Who can I possibly afford to lose?
Exactly.
That's gone.
So 100% thumbs up. Please keep the universal
And I don't think
DH.
I've heard a single announcer knock it.
No, well, not the Sox announcers especially.
No,
They're all
I mean
on board
during
with
these playoffs.
Oh, anyone. Everyone's been on board
I
with
think
it.
that the National League is caving in. That's gone.
Finally, thank you. Finally.
Okay, the next one is the 3-batter relief rule. If a relief pitcher comes in, he has to face 3 batters or make the final out in the inning.
Right.
And so that takes away the strategy of lefty, righty, righty, lefty,
lefty,
righty all the time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But that doesn't seem to matter anymore because they bring relief pitchers in all the time anyway.
In terms of a thumbs up or thumbs down, I think that's an incomplete, to be honest with you, because I think in conjunction with all this, the way that pitching staffs function now, that you only have guys go 1 or 2 innings apiece, it seems kind of irrelevant. I mean, you used to have the lefty specialist. Remember that guy? You'd have the lefty that would come in. Right, he'd come in and throw sidearm, and you'd bring him in for one. Mark Ripchinsky was the last one that I could think of that who hung around for a while. Or Jesse Orozco did that for a while, too. And you'd bring him in just to face a key lefty, and that was it. Well, those were sort of going by the wayside anyway. I mean, it used to be every team had one. But now with the way with openers and people go 2 innings and you take them out, that position's sort of become irrelevant. So
I don't remember listening to a game this year where it was an issue.
I don't remember.
Where they said, "Oh, this guy's got to go to 2 more guys."
No, I don't think so.
I mean, if he comes in and gives up a home run to the first guy, so he's going to go 2 more.
And in terms of the Red Sox, the only one I can think of who remotely had a role like that was Hembry, who you'd bring him in and he'd get out of a mess, you know, and he'd bring him in for a batter or 2 just to clean, which he was great at, by the way. But now that he's he's off the team, it really doesn't matter anymore for that role. But he's the only one in the Sox I can remotely think of who had a role that might have been affected by that.
I think you're right. That's probably an incomplete.
Yeah, I want to go another season before I really can make a judgment on that one. Yeah.
Okay, the next one. In order to make sure games don't drag on and on and on, Once you reach extra innings, you put a man on second base to start the inning. The idea is you can bunt him over and score on a sacrifice fly so the games won't go past the 10th inning. Well, there were a couple of 13-inning games this year.
Yes, there were. A big thumbs down for me on this one.
And if he scores, it doesn't count as an earned run.
It's an unearned run. You get the loss, but it's not an earned run.
I think we mentioned this last show. What happened was they put a man on second. The next guy came up and hit a 2-run homer as the first batter of the inning.
Right. So he faced one batter and gave up 2 runs. How does that happen?
I got a feeling Major League Baseball is going to try to stick with this.
I hope not. I hate it. I'm sorry. I really. And it happened a couple times to the Sox. These poor relief pitchers come in and have a guy on second. Who was it? Was it Weber, I think? Came in 3 innings in a row with a guy on second. Well, how many times do you expect him to get out of that mess without them scoring? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And interestingly, they're not using it in the playoffs.
No, they are not.
Not using it in the playoffs.
No, they're not. And I just think that's ridiculous. It doesn't speed up the game. I mean, all it does is just... It
makes it artificial.
Yeah, I really think so, and it takes pitchers out of their element too. I mean, we always talk about the closer who has to come in with a clean base running. You pitch no base runners, you pitch 1 clean inning, and that's it. Well, that affects how guys throw. It really does.
He has to start the inning from the
stretch.
From the stretch all the time.
Yeah. And you also have to pitch carefully to the first guy because you can always just bunt him over to third, and then all of a sudden. So
they didn't seem to do that much.
No. Well, nobody bunts now.
They all tried to hit home runs.
Right.
Do it they did anyway.
Nobody bunts anymore.
So I think that's definitely a thumbs down.
Absolute thumbs down on that one.
This next one, I think, also go by the wayside. They had to do it to get all the games in. 7-inning doubleheaders.
Well. Yeah, right. I don't. That's a thumbs down only because you know what? Outside of this season, they never played doubleheaders.
That's right.
There was just an effort to get in as many games as possible because of the weird scheduling. Didn't the Cardinals play 6 in a week or something like that to make up their schedule?
Make all their games up.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's irrelevant.
I should say, we said in a show recently that we're never going to finish this season.
They did.
They did.
They finished it.
They got through it all, and almost
it.
every team played their 60 games.
Yep, I didn't think it was going to happen.
The minor league plays 7-inning doubleheaders because people won't sit through.
Right.
And they don't want to wear out the few guys they have.
Right.
I don't think this will be continued.
I absolutely. I think that's going to go by the wayside.
And it was just so strange. You know, they had a guy goes 5 innings and then they bring in their closer.
Well, I said that last time. There was a game where they brought in Brazier in the 6th inning. As wait a minute, the game's 7 innings. Oh yeah, whoops.
So the downs on that. Now this one is the one that really gets me. This year they decided to expand the playoffs to 16 teams. 16 teams made the playoffs, and 14 didn't.
So more made it than didn't make it. Go figure that one out.
So they're having 4 rounds of playoffs. And again, if you're not a big fan, the first round, best of 3. Right. The next round, best of 5. The next round, best of 7. The next round, best of 7. They're going to play as many games as they did in the playoffs. They did in the whole season.
The regular season.
just to make it playoff games.
And you had teams going in, like the Astros, who actually are on the verge of moving ahead 2 rounds. They were under 500 and made the playoffs just because of the way
Imagine that.
They were in a division that was bad.
In 1978, the Red Sox won 99 games and didn't make the World Series. And this team has an under 500 record, and they're on the verge of getting into the pennant.
Right. I will say the one thing about it that I do like that's happening right now is the best of 5 round. It's 5 games in 5 days.
Yes.
And I have always said in the playoffs there are way too many off days. I like that you have to have the depth in your team to go 5.
Absolutely.
So let's keep that 5 games in 5 days thing for that first round starting next year.
How many times in 7-game series did Bob Gibson able to pitch?
Right.
3 times.
Right. Well, it was like the Dodgers run Kershaw 3 times every series because of a game, then an off day, then a game, then an off day.
And he can work on 3 days rest.
Absolutely.
So all you need is 1 or 2 good pitchers.
Oh, yeah.
But now you have to have 4.
Well, right. And of I feel so bad for the Padres right now. Their top 2 starters got hurt before the playoffs started, so they've been bullpenning every single game. They're still going, but so that I think it's a thumbs down on the format, but a thumbs up on the scheduling in terms of the days
I agree
off.
with that.
So that's a mixed bag. I think.
And you don't have to play into November anyway.
No, of course not. Of course not.
No, Jeter was Mr. November.
Right.
Well, leave that for Brady and the boys.
I know, right.
The next I kind of like, the 28-man rosters.
Yeah.
In fact, they started out this year with 30 men on the rosters, dropped it after a couple weeks down. So there are a couple extra guys, also extra jobs, but it eliminates the need for the DH, for one thing.
Right.
I mean, for not using the pitcher batting. Yeah. So I don't have any problem with that.
I think it's good. I like the 28-man roster, especially in the days now where we talked about pitchers only go 2 or 3 innings. Yep. Teams have 13, 14 guys on the staff right now. Half of those guys are pitchers. And I absolutely like because I said it creates a use for the DH, and I think and I just think the way that the teams are constructed now with all the stars, you don't want the stars getting injured. You don't want the stars getting hurt. You can rotate guys in and out. You can give guys days off more than you used to be able to. And I like it. They said on a business side, it creates jobs. Yeah. And I think also it lets guys like, who was the guy? Jonathan Arauz, who was a Rule 5 guy who never would have made the team otherwise, all of a sudden comes up and he got 100 at-bats this year.
That's right.
So it gives you a look at some of the guys that might not otherwise get a role on the team. And, hey, sometimes those guys work out. What the heck? I mean, who thought that, what's his name, Phillips Valdez would be a key reliever down the stretch? But lo and behold, that's what happened. That's right. So thumbs up on that.
Or Tanner Houck.
Tanner Houck, yes.
We'll get to him later.
Yeah, we will, yes.
Now, some of the things that I think just drive me insane is the attempt to simulate a crowd.
Oh, God.
So this sounds like you're listening to a ball game. They're doing this in all sports.
All sports now.
You have to have someone that is expert in Foley system to do that, because if you're going to be behind the controls, tuning up and down the crowd when something happens, you have to know something about the game.
Right.
If there's a 3-2 count and the bases are loaded, there should be a lot of noise.
Right, it should be, right.
There should be a lot of noise there, and not a lot of noise when nothing's going on.
And you know what's really funny? It goes to show how fake the crowd noise is, because you hear the players say a lot more than you used to in the past, if you know what I mean. The players are dropping some not so nice words when bad things happen.
It's very, very common when a batter pops out or knows he had a bad play to say something out loud, out loud.
Slam his bat down.
Which you ordinarily can't hear because the crowd's cheering.
Right. You can now.
You can now. They mic people up all the time. They're all mic'd up now.
Yeah, right.
And you can also see that the people doing the miking are right down the front row now.
Yes, they are.
Because you don't have to worry about blocking anybody. So the cameras are practically on the field all the time. So the piped-in crowd noise. Yeah. But I've been watching the NBA finals and football games.
Right. Yep.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yep.
Piping in this noise.
Yep, happened in the Pats game.
And it sounds more like a vacuum cleaner going on.
It really does, yeah.
It's annoying.
There's no real. It's hard to get an ebb and flow of the game sometimes. When you have to think how many do they have, like different levels to choose from? Like, okay, this is level 7. I'm going to go with the level 7 noise out of 10 right now because something kind of exciting is happening, but not really, and then bringing it down to 1. How do you do it?
Remember the Woody Allen movie? Give me a big laugh here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, give me a big cheer right here.
Right here. And there's no booing.
No, nothing.
Nobody boos. No. There's always booing in a game.
And I miss this. There's no heckling. I'm sorry. I'm a big fan of heckling. If I pay my admission, sorry, I'm going to heckle someone. That's part of the way, part of the price.
You don't have to be vulgar.
No,
you don't have to be racist. But you got a right to tell him he stinks.
Absolutely. So I don't know. That's a thumbs down on the crowd noise. But that's. Again, assuming everything's normal for 2021, we're not going to have to worry about that one next year.
But it's just, and they weren't doing it at first.
No.
But somebody was listening and saying, this sounds like a replay.
Right. Right. It sounds like the Sox in 2 without the noise.
This is my number one. I just can't get over this one. The paper dolls in the stands.
The cardboard cutouts.
Absolutely out of their minds about some stadiums are filled with them.
Oh, God. Did you see what they did in Denver, that they put the whole South Park cast in the crowd? Every single
some
character.
Of them are clever, but there was one of the games I was just watching. They're all filled up in a section way out in the outfield somewhere, but not in the infield.
Not right, yeah. It's Oakland. Oakland puts them all out in the outfield.
Why?
I don't.
What are they there for? They're not fooling anyone, you know.
You're not fooling anyone.
And today, Josh Reddick dove into the stands and made a catch and knocked two of these.
Decapitated two of them.
He whacked these things off. And what if a big wind comes up?
Well, one fell off the wall at Fenway. Remember that one? Oh, God.
It is so silly.
Yeah.
They're really people. You know they're not.
No, they're not. So thumbs down on the cardboard cutouts. But again, something next season. Hopefully, we won't have to worry about.
Who made all of those?
I don't know. That's a lot of
football
work.
stadiums hold 70,000 people, and they jam all these cardboard guys in there.
Yeah, somebody sits beside the laser printer and just prints a life-size thing out of all these people. I don't know how they do it.
They put a lot of money into it.
They do, and some of them are pretty clever. I mean,
right.
some of the people they have in the stands are very clever.
Some of the announcers are in the stands.
Oh yeah. The Sox had their whole crew out in right field all season.
It'd be kind of fun if they, during the regular season they zoom in on people doing things. They should zoom in on somebody and see if they can identify it. Who's this? Name that paper doll.
Or somebody could throw a pizza at Remy.
Name the paper dolls.
Name this celebrity. Yeah.
I think we talked about this next one too before. The announcers aren't there. By not being at the park, they can't commentate on anything other than what we're seeing.
Right. They see the same exact feed we do.
They see what we see.
Yeah.
So they can't tell us anything.
Right.
They can't see who's warming up. They can't see.
They don't get a different angle. Right. Yeah.
So we can announce as well at home as they can.
We can. Well, although I will say, Remy and Eck this year were exceptional. I thought they were so much fun to listen to, having the two of them in the studio, just shooting the breeze. It was like listening to two old ball players just reminisce. And they went off on tangents, but I like when they go on the tangents. I'm sorry. I think
especially the games were so bad. The team played so badly this year that people are just going to turn off the game.
So they
They made it entertaining.
They did.
They were They're real genuine showmen.
They were. My favorite was the conversation they had all about in the 70s, because they showed the pictures of these guys in their primes when they were playing, and they had a whole inning discussion about how chest moss was big in the 70s.
Yeah.
They had the shirts down to here with the chains, and X said, "Oh, that was a big deal then. That was big. We all had chest moss then, didn't we, Jerry?" And they compared chest moss pictures. I mean, and again, it's entertainment, folks.
That's
it's entertainment, and I long for the day when they can put Remy and Eck in with either Sean McDonough or Don Orsillo again. That would be must-see TV with those guys together.
And in fairness to this whole thing, FDR demanded that baseball continue during the war.
Right.
I think continuing baseball during this terrible time of disease and COVID, to have something going on, even if it's not the way it used to be, to keep people entertained and uplifted in a time when it's pretty hard to smile every day.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I think that's helpful.
It really is, yeah. So thank you, Remy and Eck. You kept us entertained all year, and we appreciate it.
And now, another thing that is very strange this year, the playoffs are all in one place.
They're in the bubble, yes.
They're all in the bubble.
Just like basketball and hockey. They're in the
bubble. They're all doing this, of course, to keep healthy.
Right.
But it seems strange to have all the games in one park, and who's got the gray uniform on today?
Right.
Who's the home team?
Yeah, right. Who's the American League is playing in San Diego?
Yeah.
Like and the National League is in Houston, I think.
Yes, it's in Houston.
Yeah. Right.
Both are kind of strange parks. Houston is a very strange park.
It is.
It looks different.
Right.
And it plays different. Yeah. And for some reason, those two parks, maybe because it's the time of year, are giving up home runs at record pace.
Oh, they really? Yes, they are. They are. All kinds of home run records have been shattered this postseason.
I mean, I saw someone hit an opposite field, right field home run, and it was hit well. It said that would not have been a home run in Fenway.
No, of course, no.
It was the only place it wouldn't have been a home run. It wouldn't have been a home run in Fenway, but because they're playing there.
Although I do have to question, Stanton's home run the other night was way more than 458. If that wasn't a 500-foot homer, I don't know what was.
Now, by the time you people see this, it'll be all over.
Right.
What's with him?
He went nuts all of a sudden.
He's had 2 or 3 seasons where you haven't known he was on the squad.
And all of a sudden, he's just going 8th in the postseason. He hit a homer. The exit velocity was 118 miles an hour, and it went about 500
And
feet.
that's what he was doing back when he was playing for the Marlins.
Right, yeah. Oh, it's just an
Almost.
absurd home run that he hit.
And
so.
he's, you know,
And of course, he's carrying him at this point. The
That's
Yankees are on the verge of going. Hopefully, they'll be gone by the time this airs. So.
the one thing that I think is a novelty that I can't get over how much I like it is the home run carriage the Red Sox used.
Yes, I love
That is
it.
the
Yes.
greatest
I
thing.
love it. Yes.
You know, at a time, usually when they hit a home run, they run the high five.
Yeah, they do the
well, you're not
fist bump,
supposed
whatever.
to do that anymore. So they put him in a grocery cart
And they
wheel
wheel
it
down the dugout.
and everybody goes, "Yay!" It's just wheeling. I think they should keep that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's great.
I again, entertainment. I like when they showboat like that. I'm sorry. If you watch the Padres play this year, Tatis and Machado are always bumping each other's fists
Right.
and everything. And
I remember back when the A's did that all the
oh
time.
yeah, the Bash Brothers.
Bash
The
Brothers.
forearms.
That's
yeah.
good.
Bring
It's
that back.
entertainment.
It's
That's right.
entertaining. And if you don't like it, don't give up a home run to them. Then I'm sorry.
That's right. And players like the Tatis Jr.
Yeah. Oh, Tatis.
It's so much life to watch a guy play.
It's so much fun to watch that team.
This
right.
new guy we're talking about, the right fielder for the Sox they just got. He's such enthusiastic.
Oh, Verdugo.
Verdugo.
Yeah.
So enthusiastic for the game. It's so much better than watching Garrett Cole. Looks like he's maybe
miserable.
Miserable. His feet hurt.
Right.
And much rather than counting his money.
Yeah. Give me the enthusiastic
Absolutely.
guys any day. So,
Any day.
So I think overall, considering we weren't even really sure that there was going to be a season, they came out relatively unscathed, I think.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things,
Yep.
I think baseball came out okay this season. I really do.
And we'll see how our last. By the way, we mark a milestone in our next show. It's our 50th Talking Baseball.
Is it really?
Number 50 next time. How about that?
Oh
50
my
show.
God, we hit the half-century mark. Maybe we should do like a Nesson Greatest Hits or something like that. The look back.
The best of Talking
the-
Baseball.
here-
Yeah, that would be great.
Tom Karen can come out and say, back in this day, you could from the low-tech quarters of the fireside, the Hemlock Drive to the studio. Here they are. 50 shows has brought them here.
So, just to close out, how about Sox? We haven't talked much about the Sox.
Yeah,
There's
we'll
much to
squeeze
talk about.
this in here. Right.
Name me who you think the 5 players that overachieved, or not overachieved, but had a good season.
Good season?
Good season.
Oh, well,
no pitchers. No pitchers.
Okay, well, no,
Leave
I
pitchers
had one.
We'll leave pitchers
I had
out.
one pitcher in there, but we just talked about it. I think Verdugo was the biggest plus of the season.
Yep.
I think he's a great player. He's enthusiastic. He always chirps when he's on the field. He just looks like he's having a hell of a
And he
time
looks
out there.
really mad when
Yeah,
he
he
hits it
does.
out.
He
Most guys make it out, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
you know,
he does. I think he's my A1 positive of the
Yep.
season this year.
I got Vasquez down.
Absolutely.
283 for a catcher.
Right? Yeah, I'll take
Whew,
that.
take
right?
that anytime.
I think as a hope, I hope it's not a farewell, but if it is, I think Jackie Bradley had a great farewell season
right.
with the Red Sox. He was a solid clutch hitter this year. His defense was as good as ever.
He had 283,
did,
but his
right.
lifetime average is 238.
238.
So he got dyslexic this year, and that's
Right.
good.
That's good. I hope they bring him back. That's just me,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see what shakes out.
Yeah.
I think another positive. Not that we're not leaving pitchers off here. I think honestly, I think Kyan Bloom was a positive. I think that's a big positive for this year. I think what he did is that he took players, and as much as we hated to see Moreland go, and as much as we hated to see Pilar go, they were gone after this year.
That's right.
And he took those guys and looked to the future and said, I'm going to flip these for young talent.
And they were into their 30s.
And they were into their 30s.
30s, yep.
Workman was a free agent. He worked out the deal for Mookie, who was going before COVID. He was going to hit free agency, and they got Verdugo in return. They got this guy Pavetta from the Phillies for Workman, who was gone at the end of the year. I think he was a positive this year.
And I think
really
I
do.
would call Bogarts positive.
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
He also
Absolutely.
hit 300, and he seemed to really mature as not the captain, but he's got to the point where he's the guy they go to.
He's the elder statesman on
exactly.
the team. Yes,
and he's
yes.
26.
Yes, right. And he has the longest tenure on the team as a 26. He and Bradley had the longest tenure.
Well, since they got rid of the pitcher.
Right.
He's been there since 2013.
Right. Oh, yes. They got rid of
Workman.
Workman was the most.
As far as minuses, Benintendi, well, he didn't have a season.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in Chavis's year. I think Martinez had a terrible year.
That was my biggest disappointment was JD. What happened to him?
And Devers' second half of the season wasn't much.
Yeah.
But
A minus for me, and I know it's kind of irrelevant because he's gone. Honestly, I was not impressed with Renege as a manager.
No.
He made some real head-scratcher moves this season. And granted, I know he didn't have a lot to work with the pitching staff sometimes. I get that. But he made some real moves. Like, what was that?
Okay.
So
since you mentioned that, we're going to end with this. These are the people who are mentioned as possible managers next year.
There is a manager hunt on for 2021.
Folks, it's not going to be Alex Cora.
No, it's not.
It will not be.
No, it will not be Cora.
Bloom is going to want his own man.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be Jason Veritek.
No, it will not be.
Everybody would like to have him because they like him. He has no experience.
Right.
Listen to the possibilities. Carlos Feblis and Tom Goodwin from Sox coaches.
Right.
Billy McMillan from Pawtucket, the Pawtucket manager.
Yes, for a long time.
Mark Quattraro from bench coach for Tampa Bay. Mark Kotze for Oakland. Luis Utuera, I can't pronounce his name, from Arizona. Sam Feld with the Phillies. Hensley Mullins with the Mets.
Hensley Bam Bam Mullins.
Eduardo Perez is a commentator.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Marcus Thames is with the Yankees. George Lombard is with the Dodgers. Pedro Griffo with Kansas City. Sandy Alomar Jr., I remember him from Cleveland.
Yes.
Will Venable with the Cubs. James Rowson with Miami. And Andy Green with the Cubs. Mark my words, one of these guys.
One of those guys. I said ding on what's his name, Quattraro. He was the Tampa Bay guy with Bloom. Might be him, and I think it might be Kotze, too. I think those are two very good choices right there. You heard it here.
So, you heard our podcast. You heard our picks. We'll be back with the pictures in our next show. Show number 50.
And we'll do a season wrap-up. The postseason will be done next time.
And we really enjoyed doing this show for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much. Keep those cards and letters coming in.
Thank you for watching,
and
everyone.
We'll see you all anon. And thanks again to the ladies behind the scene, Joe McLaughlin and Debbie Lincoln. Great people, great folks to have helping us out here.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you for watching another outstanding program provided to you by Lunenburg Public Access. We're here to serve the community. Lunenburg Public Access is always looking for volunteers to help record town events, high school sports, and town meetings. Please consider helping us out today. To contact us, you can call 617-763-3018 or email us at lunenburgaccess@gmail.com.